Yeah, this is an ongoing question. For me, it's kind of easy now because we're early stages AI. So just like a child does not own its own, it's say IP, that IP is actually owned by the parent until the child gets of age and can control their own life. The AI is in a sense the same in that it does not direct its own life. It should never be in the position of owning anything. The ownership of whatever it creates should be attributed to the person that owns that AI. Only at this stage, I would say, because AIs don't have this desire to live, don't need to work. All these things that motivate us to do things is not the problem of an AI.
Welcome to the Etheria TechCast, where we bring you all things science, engineering, technology, and innovation. Today, we are joined by Dr. Don Simons, a trademark attorney with over a decade of experience specializing in the complex intersection of intellectual property law and artificial intelligence. As the founder of his own AI legal startup and owner of one of UK's oldest trademark law firms, Dr. Simons excels at translating intricate legal and technical concepts into actionable insights. He helps businesses navigate trademark challenges in an algorithm-driven world, protect AI-generated innovations, and leverage tools like prompt engineering to future-proof their intellectual property in this rapidly evolving landscape. Dr. Simons, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
All right, so let's start at the beginning. Your career is a unique blend of deep legal expertise with a Juris Doctorate and a role running one of the UK's oldest trademark firm and a very new frontier, artificial intelligence. So tell us, what sparked your passion for the intersection of centuries of old law and cutting-edge technology?
I think that's a great question because it's not a natural transition, I think, for most people. Um, I think I've always had a background interest in what we call fiddling around with technology. That I've always liked to do. I had a musical background, so I would connect computers with keyboards and all that. And I have an audio engineering diploma, so I kind of understand how technology works to some degree. Um, and so when I went into law, I didn't think I would be getting into software in this way. Um, I thought it would just be purely law, but obviously when AI came along, it was actually a benefit for me because I was drafting a lot of arguments and I was basically using AI to help me draft better arguments. And then I thought, well, I could probably make it do something much better if I put a lot more time and effort into it. So it was kind of a benefit to me to follow through and really investigate AI because it made my job much better, right, easier.
Oh, that's indeed a fascinating journey. So, for our audience of builders, developers, and entrepreneurs, so let's demystify this. In a world where an algorithm can now generate a company's logo or marketing copy, so what does trademarking a brand even look like today, and how has the process changed over time?
Okay. So trademarking a brand is generally protecting it from being used or abused by any other person than the owner. Um, so, there are a lot of brand names we all know. Obviously, and some of them are more prominent than others. But the idea is to register it in a country, let's say the US or Canada or, um, you know, Nigeria. And if that brand sells goods or services there, no one else can come along and use the same trademark, to sell goods and services. That way people won't basically get confused as to which brand is the original authentic brand. And that's the idea behind registering a trademark.
Great. So, I love the concept of prompt engineering in the legal field. So, can you walk us through what that looks like in practice? So, how are you using tools like ChatGPT in your work to do things differently?
Yeah, I think that's an excellent question. And prompt engineering is a term that a lot of people are thinking, well, is it really engineering anymore? We'll discuss that if we can. The idea is that it can be used in a general way, meaning you go to the chat and you say, "Hey, this is my question," and the chat responds, and then you take the response and then you apply it to what your work. Let's say you want some. Let's say you want the Chat GPT. Let's say because there's so many of them, Chat GPT to draft a letter to notify your client of something. You could draft that letter yourself. It's not hard. It takes time. So you can just say to the Chat GPT, whatever, please draft this letter and have these elements in it. I'm notifying my client about something. And the GPT could usually do it in 2 seconds. Not a problem. That's a simple prompt engineer. Like anyone can do this at home as an attorney or in their office, wherever. It takes a couple of seconds. It's not, you don't need a lot of training. And a lot of them are using it this way, just simple drafts. However, if you really want to take it up a notch to a level that I'm using it at, you have to do a lot more quote unquote prompt engineering. Um, it's not simply asking the chat to draft something and then send it back to you. You also have to um, allow for information to be given to it in certain ways. Meaning, if I try to give it all in one prompt, it will come back, but it won't come back in a form that I would like, unfortunately. It will come back, sometimes summarize very much, sometimes, longer, but not, um, not in a form that I would be able to regularly use within my realm, my legal field, because of the fact that they're always chats. So these LLMs always are kind of inconsistent is the best word. They sometimes they'll give you a short summary, sometimes they'll give you a long one, sometimes they'll you know they will go all over the place, and that's a problem because what you need is consistency with these LLMs, and especially in law. And you don't want to be writing instructions every time you see one, every time you use one, because that takes up your time. The idea is to use the LLM to shorten your time. So what I decided to do is come up with a software platform that we call Braun AI that allows the lawyer or individual, it doesn't have to be a lawyer, that goes in and they fill in fields with like these are kind of questions and they fill in the answers. And because it's separate, like all the questions lead to different arguments, the prompt, the platform takes all the answers in, gives it to the LLM in the right places at the right time, in the right order, and the LLM gets to answer all the questions. It doesn't what we call hallucinate. Do you know what that means? I think you know what that means when they say hallucinate. Basically, it will make up the answer if it doesn't know the answer. And I'm going to go off on a little tangent here. I found out the reason why LLMs make up the answer is because when they're being trained, they're rewarded based on answering, even if it's not right. Um, so they tend to want to answer because the answer is graded. And then if they get the right answer, they get a higher grade, low answer, or no answer. Um, it's different grades. Obviously, they want some sort of answer to get a grade. So that's why I'm not sure if this is true, but that's why they tend to basically um, quote unquote lie, you can say. So what the platform that I have does is removes that because the LLM can only refer to a database of case law information that it cannot make anything up because it can we told it can only look at our case law database. So all these things are taken into consideration when we're doing our quote prompt engineering, but it's way more than a simple prompt. It's taking the information in a form, taking that information and giving it to the LLM at a certain stage, making sure the LLM doesn't make up stuff. It has to refer to our own database, and then it sends it out to me in a finished form. And it's about 9 to 10, 13. It depends on how much information we put in, but quite a long um, form. So, yeah.
Uh, Amazing. So, how is prompt engineering different from quote unquote prompt engineering? Like you talk about how some users just feed you know
Yeah.
information, a
Yeah.
question into an LLM, and it just feeds them a response back that may not be really tailored to the kind of response we want at you. So how can you prompt the right way so that you get exactly the response the kind of response you'd be expecting? And also, you mentioned about a thing or two about your AI tool. So, how does your AI tool assist in all of this?
You've asked the right question. And it's because people don't understand prompt engineering as in what does that mean? Okay. So, there are all kinds of engineers in the world, right? Um, I was an audio engineer. What does that mean? Um, it doesn't mean just taking a cassette and putting or CD or pressing play uh, on a tape recorder or turning on the TV and watching it. So even though that it involves that, people would not call it audio engineering if I just connect my mic to my computer and say, "Oh, wow, you must be an audio." And this is the level of ChatGPT where most people, when they go, "Hey, this is my question on I would like to know about this history of this country," and then the chat responds with the answer, right? Is that prompt engineering? Yes, on a very basic level, you can call that prompt engineering just as much as you can call it audio engineering when you plug your earphones into a computer. But true prompt engineering and true audio engineering requires a lot more in-depth knowledge, and you will be using extra equipment. So for me, in the prompt engineering field, we have M we have N8N, which is a platform that allows you to connect your LLM to other tools. Let's say an email. I want it to send an email whenever I ask it to do something. I want it to send me an email back. Or if I want to connect to it via email, I will set up what they call a workflow so that I send an email to the specific address. It gets it, and N8N it does what it has to do, and then it sends that email response back to me. So I'm not chatting with it; I'm sending it as an email. Um, and that N8N is one platform. There's also Make.com and several platforms that you can use. But the idea is that these platforms allow you to add and really control the the um, the prompt. You could say control the LLM, and this is true prompt engineering because you have to also know all the tools that are connected. Like, let's say you want a Google Drive or Google Sheets or a Gmail or a email or a web access to the internet if you want to get information from there. All these tools are little nodes that are used by the LLM to find information. So if I send an email to the LLM via N8N and I say, "Hey, can you get the price of Trademark in Dubai?" It will do that. It will ask it. It's set up to access the internet, and it will get it back to me and send it back to me. And that's it. I hope that sort of gives you an idea of Audio prompt engineering on the very basic level, but real prompt engineering where you actually have to add tools that you need to get something done. Does that answer the question?
Yeah, it does perfectly well. So, moving on, Dr. Simons, one of the biggest questions everyone has about ownership. If an AI generates a piece of art, a song, or even a critical line of code, who actually owns it? Is it the user, the developer, or the machine?
Yeah, this is an ongoing question. For me, it's kind of easy now because we're early stages AI. So just like a child does not own own its say IP, that IP is actually owned by the parent until the child gets of age and can control their own life. Um, the AI is in a sense the same in that it does not direct its own life. It isn't outside of the control of other parties. And to some degree, that means that it should never be in the position of owning and anything. Um, it should always be, to some degree, subjected. It kind of the sorry the the ownership of whatever it creates should be attributed to the person that owns that AI. To only at this stage, I would say, because AIs don't have this desire to live, don't need to work. All these things that motivate us to do things is not the problem of an AI. Um, and thus, there is no reason for them to have any control over any of their AI. It just doesn't make any sense. I mean, over their creations, because they don't truly benefit from them. But there might be a point where AIs are truly independent and do need to, like, live and gain energy in order to continue, and thus will be motivated to do things that reward them. But we're not at that stage.
Great. So, you have worked with everyone from startups to industry giants. So, what is the most common and perhaps dangerous misconception that tech founders have when protecting their IP when building with AI?
Well, with dealing with AI, I think it wouldn't be common yet because it's so new. I don't think they have to worry about AI sort of creating things that might violate or infringe other people's trade copyright unless they direct it to. Although it can, I'm just saying that I guess I gotta refer to it. There's a recent court decision in the U.S. that says if the user created something using AI, um, as long as they make enough of an input when using the AI, that whatever they created belongs to them. However, if they don't use enough, or if they don't provide enough, and the AI creates something, it is not attributed to the AI. It's just, they just don't have, nobody has rights on it. So the idea is that when you're using AI to create something, try and make sure you have enough input as part of your creation so that it can be attributed to you, or at least somebody. Because if it doesn't, it won't be attributed to anyone. It won't belong to anyone. So that there might be something that to consider when there.
That's interesting. So, beyond legal paperwork, what are the ethical dilemmas that keep you up at night when you think about AI's role in creativity and innovation?
Uh, AI is rolling. Oh, it's so vast right now. I mean, I just saw a song, an AI was created on the spot with this prompt saying something like an idea of the ideal singer for a young age group. And then once they got that AI created, they asked the AI to create the music for this singer and the voice. And that took, I don't know, I mean, on the screen, it looked like it took 10 seconds, but I'm sure it probably took 10 minutes. either or even maybe half an hour, maybe at the most. But the fact that they can create an AI and then create the music for the AI with everything you need, full lyrics and the voice and all the instruments, that is truly, you know, that is groundbreaking. I mean, what I'm not saying the music is going to be great coming from AI. I'm not, but to be able to create all that within a few minutes, that would have taken weeks to months, more even years to make that sort of thing, and they can do that in 10 minutes. That's a insanely powerful tool. Who knows what that means for creators? But yeah, it's a lot.
All right. So, can you share a story of a client who faced a significant, unexpected trademark challenge because of something an AI did? Is there any case like that?
Not that I know of now. Not yet. Not of my own. Um, I'm sure there probably is one now, but I don't know one specifically.
All right. So, for the students and early career professionals in our audience, how do you see the role of a lawyer or legal expert evolving in a tech-driven world? What skills will they need and that were not actually as crucial a decade ago?
Well, I don't think there's any way you're going to be in the legal field without using AI. I think you're going to be left behind because a lot of the things we do in the legal field are very repetitive and do not require high level thinking. And thus, if you can get an AI to do a lot of the administrative work, that's kind of what I call it, you will be saving yourself a lot of time and effort. And that's why my company with my partner, we are also building what we call a AI paralegal, who her name is Elsa. And what she does is almost, if things go well, will replace the paralegal, the physical person, because she will be able to do a lot of the administrative stuff that we kind of would prefer not to do. And yes, you can pay a paralegal to do it, don't get me wrong, but because the AI, especially the newer versions, are so much better, um, and we can train them so much better, we can make it so I think the AI right now, paralegal we're making, could replace 80% of the work that a normal paralegal does. And so if I were any law firm, I should be aware of the fact that there are other law firms using AI to do paralegal work. And if these other law firms are using that, then what am I like, how much am I paying my staff to do this work when I'm like, it's 100 to 1, like the amount of time and money I save with an AI versus paying somebody, it's like I obviously am going to be ahead over time by doing this.
Interesting. So you also teach graduate students, right?
Yeah, I spoke to graduate students about IP, like intellectual property.
Okay, so what's one thing that consistently blows their minds when you introduce them to the realities of AI in IP law?
Mm, I think how much they don't know, I guess. I mean that it's so brand new that um I kind of am surprised that people don't know as much about how AI is part of their, like, how it works and how it's and but at the same time I'm not so surprised because it's so brand new. I I think everyone's kind of learning. They know stuff like a brand name and what a brand is, but that's their limit. They're not really educated on how AI might um, interact with IP, and it's all right. They're learning like everyone else.
All right, so from your vantage point, What's an example of an industry that you think is completely unprepared for the IP implication of the AI tool they are already using?
Education, I think they're going to be hit the hardest. Um, yeah, I think education is going to be the biggest, although it's so early, but education is fighting the use of AI because obviously they don't want the students using AI to draft things and all that. But it's not there that's going to be the hit. The hit will be in the area of teaching. Like when I was growing up, if I wanted access to um, encyclopedias, let's just say, you'd have to buy like a whole volume. Like this is expensive to buy a volume of encyclopedia. Now you get that for free just going online. That means every time as a kid, if I had a question, I'd have to search for it. And we only had like three of the, I think there were 13 volumes. We only had three because that's how much we can afford. Um, but imagine a kid, any kid who has access to AI can now ask uh, it, and it will know based on its access to the internet and Wikipedia and of course encyclopedias. That's the first thing. But more importantly, kids are they would pay to go to private school. Why would you pay to go to private school if you can train an AI agent, to be exactly like the top teacher in any school? Like, there's no point. These kids will be as they can have a private tutor that is as good as any teacher at any private school for free, if not paid a little. That's a groundbreaking change because all the kids went to these private schools to be better educated. Well, now any kid could be better educated from anywhere. The only difference now is that there's the networking that you would have at the private. That's the only difference. You cannot now say that you have a better education because you will not have a better education. The AI will have as good. Uh, in fact, will probably teach the kids better because they're more patient. But that's where things are going to be the major impact. So at least that's what I feel.
That's fascinating. So, on a personal note, running your own AI legal startup while also managing a historic firm must be a study in contrast. So, what has building something new taught you about the old ways of doing things?
Um, Meaning, when you say the old ways of doing things, you mean prior to AI? Is that like, tell me what that means?
Yeah, yeah,
Prior
exactly
to
what I mean.
AI? Prior to
Yes.
AI. Oh, it, it's like night and day. And I've done things both before AI and after. I've made an app, let's just say. The amount of time it took for me to create the app, find the designer, find the idea, find the designer, find the create the app, pay the designer to create the app, get the app on the app store. The amount of money that it took to do all that, um, that automatically, I did not want to do it again. Like once I did that, I was like, all right, this is way too, it takes too long. I was not incentivized to do it again. However, once AI came out, I did this. The thing is, I've done the same thing. I had an app idea, but this time I used something called Cursor, and I said, "This is my app idea. Can you make it?" And I think it was 20 minutes later we had the app up and running online, like with images, everything working. That is a night and day, like months it took me the first time. 20 minutes, maybe half an hour the second time. Now, and that's like when I used it months ago. Now, the new level, you can have an app in the App Store like within minutes of creating it, and it will do
Wow.
everything, like all the stages. That that's night and day.
So, looking at the next 5 to 10 years, what's emerging trends or technology in AI are you watching most closely? Because it will turn IP law completely on its head.
99%, not 99. Well, I'm high confidence that there is one thing I am watching, and it's called the AI operating system. And I know it's the idea that we don't have an operating system like Mac OS or Windows. No, we have an AI that is the operating system that is always alive. It's always creating. It's never set. And this is on purpose in that because it's always alive, it's always creating, good luck in breaking into our system. Each person will have their own system. So the reason why people can exploit things like, you know, um, I think it's zero knowledge exploits and on or things like malware on Windows and all these platforms is because they're all basically the same, right? It's a version that they send out and everyone has, and then they update slowly. But if you have an AI that creates your own, so like your own operating system that is catered to you, you're not worried about Mao. It's always unique. There's no one that looks exactly the same, but they can all do the same thing. Does that, does that make sense? They're not the same because they're all AIs, but they can do the same thing because you talk to it and you say, I want this. Let's say I want a Google app, Google Sheets app on my desktop or my laptop. The AI will create that app just like that, but it won't make it the same way as every other AI, but it will function very similar as long as it functions for what you need. And that's why I mean what would happen is it's a living operating system that basically is impenetrable to malware because it's unique to every single person. That's where I see it going.
Yeah, that's quite fascinating. And to be honest, I can't wait to have an operating system like that at my disposal to use. So tell us, Dr. Simons, what does innovation mean to you, and how does it relate to your work, to your field? I mean, in the context of bridging the gap between established law and rapid technology change in the legal field. I'd like to hear your thoughts on this.
I I mean, it was done like my innovation was done for me, like it benefited me. So I was the first to value it. Let's just say, um, and because it had such a major impact on my everyday work in the field, um, I couldn't I could have kept it to myself, but I thought, well, if it works, it helps me. Why not have it so that it can help other attorneys, right? That just makes the most sense. And so I gave it to other attorneys to use, and they have kept using it. So I was like, well, obviously, if they like doing it, I mean, they could. I wasn't forcing them to use it. They can go back to their old ways. It's not you know. But if another attorney outside myself uses it and says, yeah, I like this, I want to use it, then I feel all right. So I've made some innovation that is beneficial to these other attorneys, and thus I think I don't know, I've impacted them in a technological way that if it continues, I think it's just going to grow and have others. I think I'm hoping I'm answering your question, but I think I've made it so that yeah, there's a major right now it's early stages, but I do see more and more attorneys using the platform and kind of moving away from the traditional way of doing things.
Amazing. So, finally, for our listeners who are now thinking deeply about their own brands or AI projects, so where is the best place for them to find you online, or maybe just get to know more about your work?
Yeah, I mean, there's the standard like LinkedIn. I will be there, Dr. Don Simmons. But you can also email me at info at Bron, BRON AI.com if you want to know more. Um, I don't really have any other platforms I use that regularly, but those 2 should be pretty good for connecting.
All right. It's been a really insightful and interesting conversation with you, and I am excited to have you on the show today.